Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, let's, you were talking about, we experiment a lot.
Yes,
please
we do.
Ahead.
We do. And, you know, we've created all kinds of agencies, EFCC, ICPC, all manner of, you know, and really things haven't gotten that better. In fact, one of the problems now is clarity. Who is in charge of what? So it's possible for me to say, oh, it wasn't me, it was him. It was, you know, this person. When you're not clear who exactly is exercising the powers. Have you ever seen a country where private individuals buy police protection, private protection, put flashing lights on their cars and drive around? It's only in Nigeria. And when you question them, they'll show you that they got the permission and paid for the lights, paid for the men, and so on and so forth. So, you know, this is when institutions begin to weaken. And, you know, there's been all this talk of reform, but if you are confused, and then you've got all these agencies feeding from the same begging bowl, which is why now the states carry the majority of the burden of policing, especially the operational aspect. Yeah. And let me use this opportunity to quash the myth of some thing called a security vote from somewhere. There is no such thing. And people should, yes, but we'll go, that may be for another day, but we should, you know, I've been in it, you know, I ran the trust fund, I know these things.
Can I just ask you off the cuff?
Yes.
Do you support state policing?
Oh, definitely. The only question will be the clarity of mandate on both sides. America's federal police is FBI. It may deal, for instance, if it's a federal police, with terrorism. It may deal with cross-border crime, and kidnapping. That's what happens in America. Once you cross from one state to the other in the commission of a crime, it becomes a federal offense. But issues like traffic control, local issues, etc., should be state. The federal police clearly does not have the capacity to deal with Nigeria's multifarious problems. So I have I've always argued it doesn't make sense to have a centralized police that itself has become reliant on donations to function. The federal government does not fund its police properly. Most of the states carry the burden, and then it now becomes as if it's from this, what I'll call anomaly, that the myth of security vote became. And of course, some people use it to their advantage, but there is no such thing.
You know, when you're in the course of your submissions, you talked about experimenting in Nigeria. I mean, we have institutions just springing up, and then we have duplicity of functions. Yeah. But now you've just talked about...
That's a totally different thing.
Hold on. You've just talked about state policing,
in seeming contradiction.
In all of this, there is the political side of it.
Yes.
So you have a situation where certain organizations take off to carry out certain actions, and then you begin to wonder who ordered what, who did not order what. How does all of this work?
It's one of the problems. It's one of the issues that the political class, and by the class I don't mean politicians in that sense, but those who hold political office that has authority, they have not paid enough attention, right, to the workings of the bodies that are ostensibly under them. For instance, you get the impression these days that the IGP is almost independent, or any of the agency heads. They act, there's no quote and unquote. For instance, what is the if you like, reflection of what this government wants its police to be? You don't hear the statements. Any change in any organization is driven by the political headship. That's why you have ministers. They have to create the policy and therefore determine how we're going to spend. But if you look at it, through the years, if you look at the police budget, it's just been a replication of what it's been. It has paid no attention to the, changing, security challenges. It's the same old thing. Oh, vehicles, 700, these ones. It's just like that. So clearly there's no political input. When the political heads, Senate, House, and the executive, begin to understand the need to focus on the very agencies that they created, their operational mandate, right? Who gave the police permission to provide a public asset to private people. Every policeman is a public asset. We pay him, wear his uniform. So clearly there's no political control over that process. And that's why so politics isn't this anti-party squabbling. It's also governance, which is a review on a day-to-day basis of, in America in the 90s, when there was huge crime rate, it was Clinton and the governors, the political heads, that sat down and developed a strategy. Increase in police numbers, review of you've seen England. It's a constant thing, police cuts, etc. But here, you don't. What you see when you watch a gathering of powerful political people is policemen just wandering, guards. It's just, police has become an escort force, just wandering about. And if there's a squabble there, maybe there's a fight over the mace, you see them. Because they've forgotten we are law enforcers. They've now become escorts.
Yeah.
So
I can't resist asking you this because I don't know when we'll get you again. It's got to do with the security votes which you talk about. Because there's this impression out there that when it has to do with security votes, you almost can't question it.
Listen, there isn't any... First of all, if I asked you this question, where is this security vote coming from? If I asked you that, how would you answer?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows because it doesn't exist. Some people, you see, it's a carryover. You see, we have a lot of mythology. It's a carryover from the military. For instance, referring to governor as chief security officer. First of all, there's no such office anywhere, either in the Constitution or any law. And if an office is not created by law, it has no responsibility because it can't define its role. But it sounds good, chief security officer, but what's your capacity? Secondly, you can't give what you don't have. So you can't take, for instance, you can have a budget which has a vote on security. That's a totally different thing from security votes, as if it's some specific thing. They used to say Ladoja took so much a month from the treasury, and the other fellow, Alamala, whatever you call that fellow, who used to serve Amala to everybody, Adedibu or something, said he wanted a percent. You see, it's mythology. People should, that's why I say, we don't do enough analysis. You hear public commentators say it, and then when you ask them, where does it come from? Is it a fixed vote from federal? You can't fix that in state. If a state can't pay its teachers because it is genuinely broke, and you are still saying there's a security vote, from where? It's the same treasury.
Even the figures, they won't even tell you how much exactly.
Because it's a myth. Because it's, look, some people take advantage of that myth to take money and claim it is this. I worked in Lagos, at least at the highest levels, as a commissioner, and then I sat on the security council, and I know for a fact that nowhere is provided in any structure a specific amount of money every month for the purpose of security. I challenge anybody to tell me that there is. And that's why we get into these, confusions about responsibility, etc. The responsibility for the funding of the police is an exclusively federal one. But because, as I said, there's been no real honest review, we've relied increasingly on states or on donors. You saw Dangote recently give 150 vehicles to the police. Anything you see, RRS, it's state, etc. Go around the country, it's the same thing. So these are the things that we need to get clarity on. So when I say state police, I say, if we're already spending on it, right, then we should, certain aspects, for instance, service of court process, right, still relies on a federal police, which does as it deems. Whereas this is really a state police thing. Traffic, environmental protection, all these are state matters. Then murder, assault, etc. Then, as I said, terrorism, as you go up, that will be. Then you'll have a lean, elite federal police, like the FBI, that will be efficient. And then the general police. This one now, they are on escort service. They are on election, whatever. They will tell you 36,000 people moving to Ekiti. Are we at war? But that's the whole, thing that we have created.